Listen to me closely, because this moment did not arrive by accident. You didn't stumble into this season. You were summoned into it. There are times when God gives you a schedule, and there are times when God gives you a suddenly. And I came to announce to someone who's been waiting, praying, and holding on by faith. God is about to move without warning. You thought you had more time. You thought it would come after one more struggle, one more delay, one more closed door. But God specializes in interrupting ordinary days with extraordinary power. He doesn't always send a memo. He doesn't always give a countdown. Sometimes he just steps into your situation and changes everything while you're still trying to figure out how you survived the last season. You've been faithful in the silence. You've worshiped while nothing was changing. You've obeyed when it didn't make sense. And now hear me, movement is happening behind the scenes. What you couldn't see was God rearranging people, shifting systems, and aligning moments in your favor. Don't confuse delay with denial. Don't mistake quietness for absence. The same God who shut doors to protect you is now preparing to open doors no one can close. And when he moves, it won't need your explanation or your permission. It will speak for itself. So get ready. Strengthen your faith. Guard your spirit, because when God moves without warning, what took years to endure can change in a single moment. This is not the end. This is the setup. Hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. What you are calling sudden is not chaos. It is choreography. What feels unexpected to you has already been scheduled in heaven. God does not move randomly, emotionally, or impulsively. He moves with precision, purpose, and power. When he steps into your situation without warning, it is not because he just thought of it. It is because the time has fully come. We panic when things shift quickly because we measure life by clocks and calendars. But God measures by readiness and alignment. You say, I didn't see this coming. But God says, I've been working on this longer than you've been worrying about it, long before you cried your last tear, before you prayed your boldest prayer, before you reached the point where you almost gave up. God had already set things in motion. Think about how God operates. He let Joseph sit in prison, forgotten and mislabeled, until one morning a knock came at the door. No warning, no preparation time. One moment he was a prisoner, the next he was standing before a king. That wasn't random, that was timing. God allowed years of waiting so that one suddenly could lift him higher than years of striving ever could. We misunderstand suddenly because we don't see the invisible work. While you were being rejected, God was removing you from rooms that would limit you. While doors were closing, God was protecting you from settling too early. While it felt like nothing was happening, heaven was busy rearranging everything. People were being moved, systems were being shifted, opportunities were being prepared. And when everything was aligned, God didn't announce it, he released it. That's why you can't let frustration convince you that God has forgotten you. Silence does not mean inactivity. Just because God isn't speaking loudly doesn't mean he isn't moving powerfully. Some of his greatest works happen quietly behind the scenes where faith is built and pride is stripped away. God often hides his greatest miracles inside long seasons of endurance so that when the breakthrough comes, you know it wasn't you, it was him. And here's the part that will stretch you. Sudden moves require long obedience. God doesn't bless what he hasn't prepared. He won't elevate what hasn't been shaped. That delay you hated was refining your character. That pressure was strengthening your faith. That confusion was teaching you how to trust without clarity. You thought you were just surviving, but God was training you for the weight of what's coming. When God moves suddenly, it feels fast, but it rests on years of groundwork. The blessing may arrive overnight, but the maturity to handle it took time. That's why you had to go through what you went through. That's why the process was uncomfortable. That's why you couldn't shortcut the journey. God was making sure that when the door opened, you wouldn't self-destruct inside the miracle. And let me tell you something else. God's sudden moves often shocked the people who counted you out. They saw your struggle, but didn't see your surrender. They saw your delay, but didn't see your discipline. They assumed your season was over, not knowing God was about to flip the script without warning. When God moves, explanations become unnecessary. Favor speaks louder than arguments. This is why you must stay ready. You don't get ready when God moves. You stay ready before He moves. Faith isn't scrambling after the blessing. Faith is living in expectation even when nothing is changing. You can't afford to let disappointment harden your heart or bitterness poison your spirit. Sudden blessings require soft hearts, humble spirits, and obedient lives. Some of you are closer than you think. The reason the pressure intensified is because the release is near. The reason the battle got heavier is because the breakthrough is valuable. The enemy always gets louder when he knows time is running out, but what he doesn't control is timing. God does. And when God decides it's time, no system, no person, no opposition can stop what He has ordained. So don't misread this season. Don't assume that because it's quiet, nothing is happening. Heaven is not silent, it's strategic. God is not slow. He is precise. And when He moves, it won't with a warning label. It will come with authority. One phone call, one meeting, one decision, one divine interruption can change everything. And when it happens, you'll look back and realize every tear, every delay, every closed door was part of the plan. God is not about to move randomly, He's about to move right on time. What you have been calling a delay is not a denial, and it is certainly not abandonment. It is development. It is God working on you while you are waiting on Him. We live in a world that equates speed with success, but God values strength over speed, depth over distance, and maturity over movement. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. It means God is making sure that when it does happen, it won't destroy you. Delay feels painful because it exposes our impatience. It forces us to sit with unanswered prayers, unfinished stories, and unmet expectations. But understand this, God is far more concerned with who you are becoming than what you are receiving. If He gave you everything too soon, it might impress people, but it could cost you your soul, your character, or your faith. So He slows the process, not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. In the delay, God teaches you how to trust Him without proof. Anyone can praise God when the doors are open, but it takes real faith to worship Him in a hallway with no exits in sight. The delay teaches you how to pray when emotions fade, how to obey when clarity is missing, Andy, how to stand when nothing around you is changing. That kind of faith cannot be learned in comfort. It is forged in waiting. You think you're just waiting for an answer, but God is shaping your discernment. You think you're waiting for provision, but God is teaching you stewardship. You think you're waiting for recognition, but God is building humility. Delay strips away entitlement and replaces it with endurance. It removes shortcuts and forces you to walk with God instead of running ahead of Him. Consider this, if the promise arrived the moment you asked for it, you might worship the gift more than the giver. So God allows time to stretch between the prayer and the promise, so your roots grow deeper than your desires. He wants you anchored, not addicted to outcomes, grounded, not grasping, mature enough to handle success without losing your soul. Delay also reveals motives. When the applause doesn't come, when the breakthrough doesn't show up, when the doors stay closed, why do you keep going? Is it for God or for validation? Is it obedience or convenience? The waiting season answers those questions honestly. It exposes what no spotlight ever could. And let's be real, the delay hurts. It hurts to watch others move ahead while you feel stuck. It hurts to pray the same prayer year after year. It hurts to obey when obedience seems unrewarded, but pain does not mean pointless. God never wastes a season. Every tear waters something. Every test strengthens something. Every day LA develops something. What you don't see is that God is using the delay to protect you. Some doors you begged Him to open were actually traps in disguise. Some opportunities you thought you missed would have overwhelmed you. Some relationships you wanted back would have derailed your destiny. God's not yet is often His mercy. Speaking quietly, delay also builds spiritual muscle. Faith that has never been tested is fragile. Joy that has never been challenged is shallow. But when you've waited, when you've endured, when you've trusted God with no evidence, your faith becomes unshakable. You stop panicking at problems because you've seen God show up before. You stop rushing decisions because you've learned the value of timing. And here's the truth many don't like to hear. Some delays are answers to prayers. You forgot you prayed. You asked God to make you stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more faithful. Strength takes resistance. Wisdom takes experience. Discipline takes consistency. Faith takes testing. The delay is the classroom where those prayers are answered. Don't despise the season you're in. Don't rush what God is refining. You are not behind. You are being built. You are not overlooked. You are being prepared. You are not forgotten. In heaven is investing time in you because what's coming requires more than talent. It requires character. When the promise finally arrives, you will realize the delay was not about slowing you down. It was about setting you up. You will see the blessing differently because you waited for it. You will steward it wisely because you suffered for it. You will honor God with it because you know where it came from. So stay faithful in the delay. Stay obedient in the waiting. Stay soft in the silence because development always comes before deployment. And when God decides the development is complete, what felt like a long wait will suddenly make sense. The delay is not your enemy. It is your preparation. There are seasons when God speaks loudly, and then there are seasons when heaven feels silent. No clear instructions, no visible signs, no dramatic answers, just you, your faith, and the quiet. And it is in that silence, not the shout, that strong faith is born. Weak faith needs noise to survive. Strong faith learns how to stand when there is nothing to hear. Silence is uncomfortable because it removes our sense of control. We like updates. We want reassurance. We want confirmation that we're on the right path. But God often withholds explanation so that trust can grow. If He explained everything, faith would never mature. It would only follow instructions. Silence forces you to believe without evidence, to obey without applause, to keep walking when the road offers no signs. In silent seasons, God is not absent. He is intentional. He is watching how you respond when the emotions fade and the excitement wears off. Will you still pray when prayer feels dry? Will you still worship when worship feels heavy? Will you still obey when obedience brings no immediate reward? Silence reveals whether your faith is rooted in God or dependent on outcomes. Some of the strongest believers you admire were shaped in seasons no one ever saw. No platform, no recognition, no encouragement, just consistency, just discipline, just quiet obedience. God does some of His deepest work in private because public strength is built in hidden places. Before He trusts you with influence, He tests you with isolation. Before He uses your voice, He shapes your heart in silence. Silence strips away emotional dependency. It teaches you how to live by conviction instead of feelings. Feelings fluctuate. Faith remains.